There it is. All right, well let's get started, and other folks will join when they join. And thank you all for joining us today. And I am Brennan Barnard. I'm the Director of College Counseling. And um, maybe folks could just share what year you are, or what year your child is, and whether you're at um, the Forest School or Forest School Online. Just put it in chat, just so we have a sense for who is here. And no, you do not need to have signed up beforehand. You're all good. Thanks. Yeah. Senior, junior. Okay. First freshman. All right. This will be about 30 minutes. So you're all good. There's still people coming in here, so I'm just gonna let them in. All right. Well, let's get rolling. Again, I'm Brennan Barnard. We're going to talk about early decision, early action, and different types of application plans. And feel free to just use the chat to ask questions and stop me along the way. And this is really we'll focus on application plans, and I'm happy to take any questions on just everything college admission related towards the end. Um, but but uh, I
Running back home.
There we go. Mute that. Okay, so want to just talk a little bit about application plans, and when the types of application plans and when students might apply. And just to, I know there's different levels probably of understanding and awareness of this. So some of this might be um, kind of redundant for some folks, but hopefully we can dig a little more into some of the information. I will share, when we're done, I will share a link to this presentation. So those of you who want to review it can see it afterwards. And I have a resource slide at the end that has some different links. And so then you'll be able to access those. Um, this is just kind of a general overview of the types of application plans.
Baby. Just cleaning, I'm dusting and
There we go. Please, if you're just joining us, please make sure you mute your mic. Um, so, a couple different ways you might apply, and this kind of lays them all out. And the most common is regular decision. Typically, those deadlines are in um, early January, January 1st, some are later in February, or the 1st of February. But usually these applications for regular decision are due at the first of the year. And some that I'll add the caveat that some schools that have regular decision also have an earlier deadline if you want to be considered for any special merit scholarship or things like that. So sometimes they'll ask you to apply by December 1st if you are want to be considered for like a presidential scholarship or something like that. Just be aware of those. Rolling admission is just what it sounds like. You are able to apply as soon as the application opens. So some applications open in July, some open early August, and essentially you apply, and they will roll out decisions. So they'll maybe some have like a 2 week turnaround on admission on applications. Some of it's a little longer. I was just out in Pittsburgh this last week and visiting the University of Pittsburgh, and Pitt has rolling admission, for example. And so you apply and they accept folks as they go. Um, the important thing to consider with schools that have rolling admission, especially if they're getting a lot of applications, is they will continue admitting students until they're full, right? And so sometimes you will have to apply on the early side if you want to be considered a viable candidate. So for Pitt, for example, they encourage you to apply by November 1st because they have a lot of applications, and as soon as they're full, even if you're a qualified applicant, they might place you on the wait list or something like that. So that's just something to be aware of there. Um, and then early action, again, these first ones are all non-binding. So means you'll get a decision, but you don't have to make a decision on where you're going to attend until May 1st, which is the kind of the national candidate reply date, when folks need to let schools know. Um, so, oops, let me go back. Um, so early action is students will apply by an earlier date. Usually it's for some schools, especially in the South, it's October 15th. Some schools it's November 15th. Some have kind of a second round of early action. So that you'll see EA1 and EA2. So they'll roll out decisions earlier than the regular decision date. And some schools are taking a large percentage of their class to early action, um, or through the early rounds, like schools like Tulane and Northeastern and things like that. They're taking a large percentage of their students early action. So for schools, there really is no harm in applying to a school early action unless maybe you need to delay to wait for another uh, semester of grades or something like that. But with the forest school, it's a little different because you're not really looking at grades in the same way. Um, so early action, again, often by early November, you apply, and then depending on how much volume of applicants that the school has, a lot of schools will respond to early action applications in early or mid-December. Some just because of the amount of applications they have, they don't get decisions out until January or February. But you'll learn before students who applied regular decision. All right. So any questions on those as we move along here? Chat. Let's see. Okay, that's great. Great question, Mark. The difference between non-binding and non-binding commitment is that for the non-binding, when you apply, you do not you're not committing to going there. With binding decisions, and we'll talk about those now, like early decision, it is a binding commitment. So when you apply, you can only apply to one school, and if you are admitted to that school, then you are bound to attend there. You are committing, if I'm accepted, I will enroll. Um, the only kind of way that you would not be bound to that decision is if you apply and are accepted and they don't offer you enough financial aid for that to be a feasible option for your family, then you can be released from that binding decision. But you then are saying you do not want to go there. You can't apply, find out that you're getting in, didn't get enough aid, and then kind of still hold on to that admission while you look at other schools. You're at that point, if you are getting released from that binding agreement, then you're no longer a candidate there. So, um, So that's kind of the difference between early decision and early action or other non-binding programs. And early decision, oftentimes those deadlines are again November 1st or November 15th. Um, again, none of this is none of this is so uniform. There's always kind of caveats. So there are some schools like Wake Forest, for example, in North Carolina. Wake Forest has what's called kind of rolling early decision. So um, when they open their application in August, you can apply and indicate that you want to apply early decision. There's also a program at University of Chicago, for example, that is called ED0, and it's for students who attend their summer program. And so if you attend their summer program and decide it's the school for you and you want to apply early decision, you can do that earlier, when you're just after you're done your summer program. And they'll give you an answer before other students. So they don't make it easy. There's in some schools, to be honest, some schools have regular decision, early action, early decision, early decision two, so they have multiple plans. You really need to pay close attention to each school's website and what they're offering um, and what the different restrictions are. To make things further complicated, there's what's called restrictive early action. And some of these schools that have this are like mainly some of the most highly selective schools in the country, Stanford, Harvard, Yale. There's maybe a handful of schools that have restrictive early action. What they're saying is they're you're not bound to attend if you're admitted. You still have until May 1st to decide whether you want to go there or not. But you are kind of committing to their application process early. So you would apply by early November and you agree in applying to them restrictive early action that you will not apply early decision somewhere else so that you won't be bound to attend some other school and often that you don't apply EA to any other institution, early action to any other institution, unless it's like a state public school. A lot of the restrictive early action programs allow you to also apply to your state, like UGA or something like that, because they want you to have the opportunity to have access to those programs if that's where you decide to go. But they do not allow you to apply to another, highly selective private school REA. Like you couldn't apply to both Harvard and Stanford REA, for example. You'd have to choose one and go with that. All right. So any general questions about those admission plans? Anything folks want to add? Any confusion? Okay. Well, we will come to questions again at the end, but I'm going to go to the next slide. So this is a way to think about early decision. So again, um, the binding early decision plan and the benefits and drawbacks. Um, a lot of schools that have early decision, um, again, this is often highly selective colleges, their acceptance rates are sometimes double what they are for regular. And we'll look at a chart that has some of those in a second. So, if you apply regular, it might have a 10% admit rate. If you apply early, it might have a 20% admit rate. The thing to be aware of in that is those numbers are a little skewed because oftentimes in the early decision um, pool are recruited athletes and maybe legacy students if they consider legacy and other special populations or what's called Quest Bridge, which is a program designed for low-income students. So those numbers are sometimes a little skewed because of that. So For a student who doesn't fall into one of those categories, that it might not actually be as significant of a difference. Um, Again, you're showing the college that they're your kind of top choice, and that makes a difference, and that's reflected in those admission rates. Um, Another benefit, of course, you get to find out whether you're into college early and take some of the pressure off. And it's often more streamlined. You are able to then kind of engage in your senior year, knowing that you're into college, and so for some students, that's a benefit. I will say that increasingly s- colleges and universities are offering specific kind of bonuses or incentives, I guess I'll say, for applying early. So there's just a kind of marketing push that went out from Northeastern University in Boston, for example, where if you apply early decision and are admitted, they're offering, priority housing and priority course registration and a summer merit grant to do some summer experience and some schools, a couple schools offer priority housing and priority parking on campus, and so it's gotten a little bit a little bit out of control. It used to be that our professional association prohibited those because of just kind of the ethical implications and also the equity implications of those incentives, but that was challenged by the government and an antitrust lawsuit. And so now schools are allowed to add incentives. So um, just something to be aware of. The drawbacks, again, that students are not able to um, look at, apply to whatever, 6 schools, and maybe they get into five, and they get financial aid packages back from the different five, and then are able to compare those packages to each other and find out what's the most affordable option for their family. So um, that early decision, you get into that one school and you get one package and you don't have the ability to compare. You'll notice that that a drawback and a positive is one is potential for merit aid and the other is less merit aid potential. You might be kind of scratching your head there. It really depends on the college. So for some schools, they will offer special merit packages for students who apply early decision. Other schools don't offer merit for ED applicants because merit aid, which is non-need based aid, is kind of scholarship aid, is often offered to to entice a student to attend. But if a student is already applying early decision and it's a binding decision, some schools feel like, well, we don't need to offer that student merit because we're not trying to convince them to come. They're already coming. So depending on the school, that could be a drawback or a positive. Um, One of the things, again, accelerated timeline is, you have to get your essay done and your application complete and everything like that earlier in the year. And if that feels like it's rushed, then that could be a drawback. And then, honestly, a lot changes for students from the first months of their senior year to when they're in the spring. And so, kind of locking into a college early in the year can be a drawback because it doesn't allow room for growth and changing interests and things like that. I'll just speak from my own experience. I have 2 children in college. One's a senior and one's a first year student or a second semester first year student, and they both applied early decision just because they both found colleges they really wanted where they really felt they wanted to be. My older child, my son was very happy with that decision and had been a great experience. My daughter was a recruited athlete and applied early decision, and the school was not a good fit. And she's now transferred and is very happy, but she got to college and she so much, especially for a recruited athlete that oftentimes has to make that commitment even kind of the summer before their senior year. So much had changed for her in her senior year. She took a course that she really loved in high school and decided that it was an area of interest in nutrition and health sciences that she really was passionate about. And the schools where she applied early decision and enrolled didn't really have programs in that. And so she was frustrated once she got there. So one of the drawbacks is that, there is that lack of flexibility. All right. I have a link to this. This is a consulting group that has compiled this data. But I offer it because it's a great kind of one-stop shop. And this is just a screen grab, but you can filter through the different institutions that you might be interested in, and you can see what application plans they have and their early decision rate versus regular decision rate. So, if you look at, let's just say, um, uh, let's say Amherst College, right? Their early decision acceptance rate is 29%. Their regular decision is 8%, right? So that's a significant change in odds of being admitted. Other schools, there's not as much of a significant difference. This will help you as you kind of try to get a sense for how much an impact early decision has at these schools. Um, the the other way to do it is to each school has a entry into what's called the common data set. So the school has a common data set which has all the information about their admission process and all the statistics. And so if you, for example, let's say take Amherst again, if you Google Amherst College Common Data Set, you'll find a link to their common data set, and then you can find all these statistics, and these folks put this table together. They went through all the common data sets and found the information, but that also has other good information about the demographics of the school and all kinds of other admission related information. All right. This is a table that I will again link to. It's a good way for especially students who are in their senior year and are trying to kind of keep track of everything to enter in. It's a spreadsheet that you can make a copy of from the link that I share. And you can keep track of what their admission plans are, when the deadlines are, and then eventually when you submit them, and this goes a ways over to the right, which you can't see, but there's all other kinds of things that
What's
that
City?
What you doing?
Listening to a Zoom call and cleaning.
could you mute? I'm not sure who that is, but
Sorry.
that's all right. Oh, Deborah, I'm gonna mute you. There you go. Okay. So this is just a good tool, I think, for students, and a really useful one to track everything um, and keep up with things. And then here are the resources that I mentioned, and these are hyperlinks. This is to that chart. This is to that thing I just showed you. This is another resource to a group that compiles admission rates and any changes to admission plans. So if you're, a ninth grade student right now or 10th grade, you'll be able to log back on here and see what the changes are for as they change year to year. All right, so that's the lowdown on application plans. I'm going to stop the share here and ask you. Let me get that link um, while I'm thinking of it, and so you can have it. 1 sec here. Copy link. And I will put that link in chat. There you go, so that you'll be able to view that and click on those resources. All right, so what questions do you have? A couple minutes left. Any questions about early application plans to begin with, and then we can open it up to any other questions that are on your mind. Clear as mud, right? Again, like I said, every school has different policies, and so be sure to read through those policies really clearly. If you apply early decision, you will be asked as a student to sign a kind of a agreement saying that you are not applying elsewhere, um, and or not applying early decision elsewhere. And then your parents will also have to sign that, and then your college counselor or your guide will also have to sign that. So it's just to make sure the acknowledgement that you are agreeing to that. Um, Okay, so sounds like there are no questions on early decision right now. If you do have them, put them in. But there's the question SAT versus no SAT, is that frowned upon or not? If a school is what's called test optional, that you don't have to submit tests, they are saying that legitimately you will not be harmed if you don't submit testing. Um, so it's not frowned upon if you don't send them. If you don't send them, they will look more closely at the rest of your application and the courses you've taken and your progress and the things you've done outside of class and everything like that. If you have strong t testing, then absolutely send it. But if a school is test optional, then really it's not frowned upon. Um, and then Deborah, the question, any advice for students that don't have any idea what they want in college and don't know where they want to apply? I would just say start early, kind of exploring. Visit different types of schools. Go see a big school, go see a small school, go see an urban and a rural school, and take notes on what stands out, on what kind of is enticing to you, and what maybe you don't like about a school, and then start to kind of develop criteria, um, and um, and then kind of build from there. Other questions? I say going to schools there. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point, Joshua. That if you if you live a continent away, it's gonna be hard to see schools. Some of the virtual programming, the virtual tours, and other things like that are really great. I mean, some maybe they're not as useful as the in person, but you do with the best with what you have. And a lot of students apply to schools in that same circumstance, having never stepped foot on campus. But that means, finding other ways, virtual programming, and reaching out to maybe students who've been there before, or reaching out to the admission officer can be especially useful. And the National Association for College Admission Counseling has a series of virtual college fairs, and those are also really useful. I can let me see if I can just grab a link to that really quick. these are all about registering to it to this is for colleges, but um, let me see if I can grab it. Let's see. Here we go. Well, I'm looking for this. Let's see. Is the school like Forest School considered an advantage versus traditional schools? I wouldn't say it's a advantage versus drawback. I think colleges are really looking at students in the context of the school they're coming from, and so they colleges know the benefit of a school like Forest, where there's a lot of hands-on learning and the kind of hero's journey and the apprenticeships and things like that, and they see the value of that, and so I think that's really important to them. And then what is the rate of employment for college graduation? Is it going up or down? This it fluctuates, as you might imagine, and it was this last year was a tough time for some students coming out of college. And a lot of it really depends on the area you're studying and the experiences you've had in college. There's all this there's a lot of kind of media attention to the idea that in the next 5 years that AI will take a lot of entry level white collar jobs, and I think these are all good questions to ask colleges when you go. Like, how are they preparing you for a college education, and what is there are there career services? Is what are the career service support like at that school, and how do they help students find internships, and how are they thinking about the role of AI and all those pieces? All right. Well, we will be back next month with another webinar, and I appreciate you all zooming in and joining us. And we'll send this recording out, and you have that link. And I hope you have a wonderful week, and keep doing what you do. Thanks so much.